Alright, hi guys. So today we're going to be going through inflation, and there's a lot of parts of inflation that we can go through. There's inflation, there's disinflation, there's deflation, there are the consequences of inflation, there are many aspects of inflation that we need to go through. But for today, we are only going to be looking at how we measure inflation using CPI, which is also known as the Consumer Price Index. So as you are aware, inflation is when the general prices of everything rises. So when the price of any household goods, such as food, housing, transportation, when any of those prices rise, that means there is a case of inflation. Now, inflation happens at different rates. So sometimes it can happen at 2%, it can happen at 1.5%, 3%. It can happen at different rates. Now, what we do is to measure inflation, we use what is called the Consumer Price Index, which measures all the spending that a consumer does in a household within a month, and they compare it to a base year so that they can see what happens from the base year to the current year. So, for example, the base year here is 2019. We are in 2025 right now, actually. What happened to inflation from 2019 to 2025? Now, the Consumer Price Index uses what is known as a basket of goods. The basket of goods is what a household commonly spends on. It includes housing, transport, food, recreation, clothes, and other aspects of spending. It could be other things. Education could be another, it depends. Now, what they do is they take a weighted average of how much of each of these is spent within a month, and they calculate the rate of the cost of the basket of goods with the weighted average, and then they compare it to the base year, which is 2019. So, as an example, let's say we are in 2020. In the base year, the calculation, or rather the cost of a basket of goods costs 400 dinars a month. That means typically all of these things every month would cost around 400 dinars a month. In 2020, let's say it costs 410 BD a month. Okay? So that means from 2019 to 2020, we can see that the typical basket of goods, where it cost 400 in 2019, it now costs 400, it cost 400 in 2019. In 2020, you can see it costs 410. So that means it increased by 10 dinars. So the CPI formula is the cost of the basket, which here is 410, divided by the base year. So we have 410 divided by 400 multiplied by 100. Right? And that will give you the CPI for 2020. Pause the video.
Okay.
Pardon the pause there, I was just getting a calculator. So we see here that it's 410 divided by 400 times by 100. So it goes, the CPI is 102.5, which in reality is also the same thing as 2.5%. Now, we can do this for the next few years as well. So for example, let's say in 2021, the same basket of goods costs 415. What we do is then, we do 415. We do not divide it by the previous cost of the basket in 2020. No, we divide it by the base year, which is 2019, to establish a comparison. Okay? So 415 divided by 400 multiplied by 100 is equal to, let me do it right here, 415 divided by 400 multiplied by 100 the answer is 103.75, which is also the same thing as 3.75%. So what we've established here is that in 2020, the inflation rate from 2019 to 2020 was 2.5%. And we also established that in 2021, inflation rate went up from 2019 to 2021. It was up to 3.75%. Okay? And that's basically how it is. That's how we determine the inflation rate from the base year to the next year. Now, in terms of the percentage, okay, there are two ways to actually determine the percentage. What I did was, it usually comes from 100. 100 meaning that there is no increase in price. It would be at 100%, it would be the same. So whatever was above 100, I would take that and I would turn that into a decimal. That would give you the percentage. But the other way to do it would be new minus old divided by old times 100. So in this case, for example, 410 minus 400 divided by 400 times 100 is equal to 10 over 400. Take away the zeros. 1 over 40 is the same thing as 0.025 multiplied by 100 is 2.5%. If you do these calculations on your own, you will see that you will get the same numbers, okay? I prefer it if you did it this way, just so that, sometimes our intuition can be wrong in terms of finding out the percentage from this number. I'm a little experienced, so that's why I was able to figure it out. But otherwise, if you're ever in doubt about the percentage change in inflation rate, this is how you would do it. So for example, for 2021, it would be 415 minus 400 over 400 times 100. And if you plug that in to a calculator, you will see that it will give you a percentage of 3.75%. Either way you do it, it doesn't matter, okay? I prefer if you did it this way just to make sure that you didn't make any mistakes along the way, okay? So that's it. That's how you calculate or measure inflation using the CPI. So to do a quick review, the CPI is a basket of goods. It calculates the inflation rate comparing from 1 year to the base year. So in this instance, in 2019, a basket of goods cost 400 dinars. In 2020, it cost 410. That means that the CPI is 102.5%, which signifies 102.5, which signifies a 2.5% increase in price from 2019 to 2020. And in 2021, that same basket of goods cost 415. The CPI we calculated was 103.75, which comes to 3.75% from 2019 to 21, meaning a 3.75% increase in price from 2019 to 2021. And that is CPI in a nutshell.